Hi guys, this is Ray from nextforextrade.com, here to teach not preach Forex. Today's date is Tuesday the 27th of August 2019. It's just gone 6 AM here in the UK. Obviously just before I start, obviously if you do find what you hear today useful, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get notifications and act on this information as soon as it comes out. I'm trying to grow the channel, so obviously any subscriptions much appreciated, guys. So let's kick off. So I'm gonna cycle through the market today, just see what there is at the moment. I still have this position in on the AUDUSD short. I'll come back to that, but we'll just see what other opportunities there are in the market as well that we might be able to trade. Now, a lot of the AUDs, in fact, AUD crosses are very similar in terms of the setup at the moment. It's kind of quite bearish, so we've got this downward trend on most of them, and they've pulled back and found resistance. Retrace about 23, if you use Fibonacci, about 23.6 on a retrace. So, where is my Fibonacci tool? There you are. Don't use Fibonacci, as I've explained in other videos, as on its in isolation. I want it to have some meaning in terms of how it's interacted with the price in other ways. So a lot of these pairs we'll see have something very similar. They've got signs of bearishness, so lower lows, lower highs, and this kind of area here, it's pulled back, retraced to a level, and it's found resistance, and it's started to pull away. Now, this for me, although this is bearish, overall, I wouldn't be looking to short this at this point in time, simply because of where the price is. It's a little bit too oversold for me. When we're shorting, we want good value for money. We want to find a good bargain, and for that to be the case, ideally we want to see some interaction with our upper standard deviation channel. So just using the daily first of all is always my first point of call. We can see at the moment this, although has good signs of bearishness overall, it's a little bit too expensive to attempt to short at the moment, because if we were to short when the price is up here, it means our positioning is much better because we've got a stop loss above a lower high, and the potential to the downside is going to be much greater. So we're anticipating in a downtrend that the highs are going to get lower and the lows are going to get lower. So with an entry up around here, it means that the profit potential is greater, the position size is going to be bigger as well because of where our stop loss is going to be. We want to put it above the previous lower high, and it just means that we've got a more higher probability type of trade. So at the moment the AUDCAD isn't great for me for trading. The AUD Swissy is slightly better, but what's missing on this is a reversal type candle off of the upper edge of our standard deviation channel. I like to see nice small candles to allow for an entry to the short side. It is still tradable, but the reason I wouldn't be in this at the moment is because I'm already in AUDUSD, which is I want to avoid any currency correlation because they are moving very similar at the moment. But if you were to trade this, the way that you could do this for an entry, just looking at these lower time frames for guidance for the entry. So what I want to see on these hourly 15-minute is to start to see lower highs and lower lows. So this on the 5-minute it started to do it, where we've seen these lower highs, lower lows, but this price action here isn't great, and it's in fact looks like it's encountering some pretty zonal support as well, which would be a reason to hesitate shorting this right where the price is now, because you'd be selling into that support, which is never really a good idea. You want to sell off of resistance rather selling into support if you're going to short the market. So this would be one I'd pass on, in fact. So let's just see what else there is. Again, AUDJPY, very similar thing. This area of resistance that we saw in the pullback, and the price is kind of up near its upper edge. Very similar price action on these lower time frames. So the 5 hourly started to give. It's encountering this support. We can see that on all the different levels. So really, for this to be more viable, I'd want to see. It's just this move on the hourly isn't great, but I mean, you could trade it based on the 15-minute, on seeing it break this support here, definitively break through that, and use a standard deviation channel to time the entry. So what would happen if this were to do what we need it to do is the price would break this support and then pull back to either our average on a standard deviation or the upper channel, and you could look to short that for you know, on a 1-to-1. Yeah, it's not the best of setups, but I'm talking about it anyway, just so that you have an idea of how you could structure a trade, possibly stop loss above these type of levels. So if we put this on all the time frames, so yeah, it's yesterday's high. So a stop above yesterday's high would clear these previous lower highs on the 15-minute, and this kind of structure here that we're seeing, this resistance on the hourly, and you know, 1-to-1 reward to risk would be viable on that. But personally, that wouldn't be, because not all the stars are aligned on this. I would consider just passing on that, or if you were more of an aggressive trader, maybe going for a trade where you're you know, it's on the lower end of your risk scale. So I typically trade between 0.5% and 3% of capital. So this type of setup would definitely be, you know, in a 0.5% type of trade, because it's not that great in terms of setup. AUDUSD, I'll come back to that because I'm in it, but this here is the CADCHF. Very similar, like I was saying, the way it's kind of finding resistance on these levels here, on the other pairs as well. So this is a similar setup, at least on the daily. It's having trouble on all the time frames, kind of beating that resistance. So if we look on the hourly, this level here, clear areas of resistance, and that's good in terms of, you know, how you can structure where your stop's going to be, because if we know that the price has had on various time frames, it's clear that it's struggled to get through a level, then you want to have your stop above that level. So a stop loss above these previous highs is a sensible place for a stop. So above this troublesome resistance area, and it's been very, very choppy. So you could just trade this as a type of box trade, where you're looking for it to go to the other edge of the kind of the range. So to short this, your stop would be above this level, which would mean, you know, your 1-to-1 reward to risk would be somewhere around here, and you could viably stay in this using the 15-minute as a way to manage the trade and look for lower lows and lower highs on the 15-minute. Go back to the hourly here as it starts to approach the lower edge here, and use those to guide the trade. So as the price, if the price were to start to make higher highs on the 15-minute, then you could basically just use that as a way to manage it and take profits out if the previous highs get taken out. But yeah, I mean, not my preferable trade here. I mean, even on a 1-to-1, I mean, there is potential in it, but I personally like to have something where everything is trending and moving in a similar way, and we don't really have that on all of the time frames at the moment. The reason for looking for everything to be trending in a similar way, that time frame correlation or time frame agreement, is because you just increase the probability of the trade going in your favor. CADJPY, similar story. I won't labor the point. We've got same kind of resistance here, so same structure that we'd be looking at, same way of structuring the trade we'd be looking at. CHF JPY, be bearish overall on this, but the problem with this at the moment is the way it's encountering this previous support. We can see in yesterday's candle it kind of interacted with this zonal area of support, failed to break through it definitively, but we do have this channel that we're seeing on the on the daily, but it's just in an oversold area at the moment. So I wouldn't want to sell this now because well, there's multiple reasons. Basically, where the stop loss would be, there wouldn't really be a sensible place for the stop. It wouldn't clear the standard deviation or these previous lower highs. We'd need to break that significant support to make a decent, profit, even on a one-to-one reward to risk. So this wouldn't be great to trade now. I'd want to see it give a bit more value. So pull back, and even knowing that this is significant support, if we did have a pullback in the coming days, see some reversals off of this level, then a stop above that, it would give a much better profit potential if this is a short candle that reverses off of this level. So that's something to just be aware of. Nothing to really act on right now, but just be aware of what could happen. No, nothing tradable there for me. No. Set that back. Yeah, it's crazy support. When you see the price kind of flattening out like this, typically if it breaks this type of level, it's probably going to be quite a significant break. And the daily definitely shows that there's going to be scope for that. But the problem for me, when if trying to trade that breakout, is where the stop loss would be. There's just no sensible place where you can place. I mean, in the price structure, this would be the kind of lower high that I'd be looking at in terms of stop loss placement, and that's just too far away from the price action to make that a viable trade. You could use something like the lower time frames and just have it above these previous lower highs, so this area here, for example, but you could still be right overall on the move as it progresses lower, but wrong because the price just retraces slightly and you get stopped out, and you've made your decision just on one time frame really, and what I teach is based on multiple time frame agreements, so we want it to make sense not just on one time frame but several to structure the trade. So this this isn't one to consider right now either. Euro CHF, this could be good for fading, so going against this trend here because of the support that we're starting to see on the daily. So this I'm not sure if I looked at this in previous videos, but the majority of what I teach is based around trend trading, so you're going with the actual trend rather than against it. But you could look to take a long position on this with stops below this area here, because we know this is quite significant support. With an entry like that, I would just want to see some more convincing bullish movement on these lower time frames first of all. So if these start to make higher highs and higher lows, and we're not really seeing that on anything at the moment, these are all very flat. But within the European, going into the US sessions, if these lower time frames start to show some bullishness, then viably that would be a decent entry with a stop below these daily lows. but not for me. EURGBP. Yeah, this looks interesting. We can see that it's found, so we've got some, you know, high highs, high lows. It's found support here. Its previous resistance has come support, this zonal area here as well. We've got it interact with our standard deviation channel, the lower edge. So this is showing good value for money in terms of, you know, if we were to go long, because our stop would be below this area here. We've got this potential upside here as well. Now, the main issue at the moment is these lower time frames haven't yet started to really, you know, definitively make higher highs. We have started to see this movement here. So put the standard deviation channel around the hourly here. So this is good in that this is price is kind of encaptured in our standard deviation, but there's still the context of this bigger move down here, right? So as the price, even though we're seeing this retrace and upward movement, it could find some trouble at around this area, which would coincide with quite a few other things as well. If we look, you can see in the price structure there's this previous support here. It's kind of zonal. If we zoom out, it's zonal around there as well. So there's a few things colliding to say that as the price approaches this level, it could find resistance. And if you were buying, you'd be buying into that. I'd also want to see how that fib retrace lines up as well. No, it's not significant. But I'd definitely be bullish on the EURGBP, but timing isn't right yet. I'd want to see it break some of these price structures. So this here as well, it's the same thing that I've put on a daily, but this is the 4 hourly. This move here, oh come on. So to see it break out of our standard deviation channel, break and make new, break past, sorry, previous lower highs and make higher highs. So that could be something we might see in the US session a bit later. So something to keep an eye on, but not quite ripe for the trading as of yet. No, too oversold. No. No. Well, this is, so you can see this previous standard deviation channel got in, which was basically bearish, but it has broken past our previous well, it's broken. Firstly, the things just to observe from this is it's broken from the standard deviation channel. It's broken past the previous lower high, and the price has started to kind of move in upward channel. So if we look at the lower time frames, that's probably going to be more evident. So let's have a look at the 4 hourly. So this move here is the same as this move here. For this to be tradable, really I'd want to see this on the daily come back and find support off of our standard deviation here, like we saw with these levels here. So what's the day? Tuesday, Wednesday, so Thursday would be the earliest, really. So if the way I'm kind of projecting that is, I know this candle has to close first of all, and I need to see a reversal candle, so that would be Wednesday, the earliest, which would mean Friday. Thursday would be the earliest, so I could enter this should we see a reversal candle and the price move past the high of it. So no for today. Yeah, that is a good. It's a bit late. It's not the greatest value for money. And a lot of the time, this is really just what I'm trying to do when I'm structuring trades. It's just finding the best one that is worthy of my money. Otherwise, just putting on stuff that is mediocre, so you've got a higher chance of losing it. And I look for opportunities where the price structure allows the ability to scale in, so add to it. Which is how you get paid, really. You don't want to just take punts on slightly risky stuff just because you want to trade. Oftentimes it's just not trading is a smarter move, because it's not all about movement. It's not about constantly trading. That isn't going to grow your capital. It's that movement doesn't mean progress. Trading all the time doesn't mean progress. It's kind of picking and choosing, being selective in what you do decide to get into and not get into. So there's previous zonal support here that's turned into resistance here, and we had this reversal here off of our standard deviation channel, which gives me bearish thoughts, if you like. Where's my fib? And this interaction that we've seen here as well is around about the 23%, 23.6 retrace as well, which we can see, it's already moved away from that anyway. Main concern is the 4 hourly here, that we're still within this this retrace is kind of still within this channel of our standard deviation channel, so a break of that would be better. And the fact that this candle, this is a reversal candle that we're seeing here, hammer come off of the standard deviation, and previous, when we track that back, there'll be previous support there as well. So that's not a particularly good sign, and even now as I speak, it's starting to move past the high again, and our hourly is also very bullish at the moment. But what would be good on this in today's session is if we see the price break that support, because it would have meaning on several levels. It would mean that it's breaking this price structure here in the standard deviation, so potentially to kind of break down and pull back and then start to move lower. And we've definitely got the momentum on the daily to say that that is likely. Our lower time frames are definitely bearish at the moment. It's just we need a bit more correlation on these lower time frames. So if you are watching this, I would say just watch for a break of this support here, and once it's broken, or if it breaks, you could then start looking at this price action down here, waiting for it to pull back to our upper edge of our standard deviation or the average, or you could just on the 15-minute, for example, just put it on that. So if it breaks this support or these levels here, same thing, we need to break down and pull back to our standard deviation channel. But that has potential, and stop losses as well. I would personally be thinking above these previous highs. So let's get rid of this Fibonacci. So above this high here, we can see. In fact, let's just go on lower time frame here. So the highs in terms of a stop loss would be above these highs here. So 1-to-1 reward to risk. Roughly we don't know what it would be because of where our entry needs to be, but that's about what, 200. Yeah, you'd be taking money off before this low here. wouldn't estimate that that would be within a day, so you might be in this for a few days if it does pull off. So just be careful on the swaps on that as well, because it may be something you need to carry for a few days to hit target of at least 1-to-1. Swaps aren't too bad on this, but you'd still have to just be aware of that. What else? Let's have a look. Similar story. Got this downward movement, not as great as the other one, whatever I was looking at there. So this is GBPCAD, GBPCAD was the one I was looking at previously. Yep. So GBPCAD, not as great because there's not as many. I mean, it's good that this high here had interacted. Yeah, it's just not as strong. The other one we looked at, GBPCAD, would be the better of the two, which means there's no point looking further at this one. Similar story. I don't like the way, I mean, I much prefer, although we're seeing signs of bearishness on this with low lows, lower highs, I'd much prefer it to be interacting with our upper edge here rather than the average of our standard deviation channel, as we saw with the GBPCAD. So this would be, I mean, yeah, there's shorts it could take off of it, but it's not. There's better stuff there. No. So just trying to evaluate how this could play out. Probably be keeping an eye on this. Cable is interesting, but not interesting enough, really. It's these. So I'm looking at this move here. So this pullback that we've seen here, it's encountered some resistance. It's not great. I mean, there is previous areas that are quite zonal to this level, which it's interacted with last week, this candle. So it just gives us a reference point, at least for our stop, above these highs here. The 4-hourly, although it's in this retrace here, we can see that if we had an entry now, there's still at least this scope to the downside in terms of the standard deviation. So the positioning on this would be all right. Whereas the other ones we looked at, it was the same kind of idea, right? It was this pullback that we were looking at, but it was down here. It was interacting down here at this level, whereas this one is near the average. So even if this does continue with this upward movement, it means if I've positioned, the positioning on this is okay to take a short and to use the lower time frames to exit it, to manage it. But there's a few things missing on this. Let's just have a look at that. Yeah, this may be when I enter, but I'll just have to update you if this is one I take, and I'll explain how I've entered that. But this is tradable. Probably this would be 0.5% to 1% in terms of this. But there's a few things I'm looking for on these lower time frames to make this viable for an entry, but just not quite yet. NZD CAD, no, 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 no. 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 Bitcoin, yeah, that's definitely bullish on Bitcoin. Like I said, don't trade it, but some people do. So this area of support is still held true. So if I were trading Bitcoin, then it would definitely be for the bigger move, not the intraday moves. But there's enough reference here to say stop up below these levels, and as I discussed in yesterday's video, profits before, or taking some profits at least before these levels is quite viable. Or another way to look for it is to scale in once it breaches these kind of levels. The next kind of milestone it would need to break would be these previous highs. So a longer term move, yeah, definitely bullish. There's definitely good positioning that you could take on this now. But yeah, it's just in case anyone does trade Bitcoin, just my insights on that. And Aussie. So Aussie USD is the one that I'm currently in, still 3%. It's been a few weeks, few days I've been in on this. So this is first entry on this was on the 12th. So it's the 27th now. So yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. And this is just one you just need to be patient with. There's no reason to be out of this as of yet. Price action is still doing what I need it to do. We've seen in this move here, both on the 4-hourly and the daily, it's the same move that I've captured here. It's coming up, it's hitting this kind of upper edge of our standard deviation channel. We saw a reversal for that yesterday. It's not reversal candle, but the price has hit resistance, and so this is the kind of danger zone, if you like, and above this standard deviation as well. And my stops are out of the way there. Because of the way this is ranged so much from the higher time frames, the lower time frames aren't going to be as kind of responsive in terms of showing it. So basically the main point of reference for this for me now is based on the daily and the 4-hourly, and I'm waiting as well for the lower time frames to start showing better signs of lower lows and lower highs as well. The take profit on this is there's a decent reward to risk on this if this pans out, but this is just a wait and see. Basically I need it to stop, not go any higher. Firstly, I've controlled my risk here. Max I can lose on this is 3%, and just looking for it to break these previous lows as well. Now as it approaches these lows on a daily or 4-hourly, whichever time frame you want to use, I'm going to be watching these lower time frames to see how it interacts with those lows as it approaches it. So if I start to see signs of reversal on these lower time frames, so it comes to these levels here, and we've had this price action where it's making lower lows, lower highs, and it starts to break those price structure with higher highs, then I'm going to use a protective stop to take me out. It would be in profit, but just to protect my capital as the price moves lower. But what I'm hoping that will happen is that as it approaches these, the price on these lower time frames will continue to make lower lows and lower highs, allowing me to you know, maximize the profit on this. But yeah, again, this is just a big game of patience. You can see how long I've been on this, and there's just no reason to be out of it as of yet. Price hasn't told me to get out, so I'm still in it. I'm basically letting the price tell me what to do. So this as well, it's important to realize, managing a position over this period of time as well, you have to just pay attention to what the swaps are. This is a pair that I do get paid on the swaps, on the carries, but there are very few pairs that do that. So if you're short, or you know, whatever your position is, just go into MetaTrader or whatever your broker, you know, trading platform is. In MetaTrader, you go to the pair, and I don't think you can see this on the screen, but once you right click on it, there's a menu that comes up, and then there's a section that says specification, and you need to just scroll down, and it will tell you the swap long and swap short. So if it's a minus, then you will be charged. So this would be a minus. It will come off of your total profit. If there's no minus there, then that's what you get paid per lot. So just be aware of that. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another update. And like I said, if you've got any questions, or you like what you're seeing here, just let me know, and subscribe so you can get notified as these recommendations or analysis comes out. And yeah, I'm happy to help if you have any questions about this. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.